Okay guys, so this is the second part of my Thavas deck profile. The first part went through what the actual deck was and the quantity of each card, etc, etc. This is going to be going through why I'm actually running each card. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Okay, so my starter was Kelpie Rider Mitros. I really like him as a starter. There are other options, and I will present those to you now. Officer Cadet Andre and Bubble Edge Draco Kid. Now, I see these three cards as sort of a range, a sort of a spectrum. Bubble Edge Draco Kid here can give you a lot of advantage. He can give you, like a +2 to hand, although he goes to the soul, so it's technically a +1. Whereas Andre actually gives you a -1 because he goes away and you don't get anything for it. Whereas Mitros gives you a wash, he just gives you a 0 because you're losing him from healed, but you gain a card in your hand. However, Andre can give you an extra attack, whereas Bubble Edge Draco Kid does not. I like to see Mitros as kind of the middleman between these guys. He gives you advantage, he gives you extra attacks, he gives you an extra attack with some sort of advantage, if you want to call it that. Additionally, Andre costs a Counterblast. I'm not particularly fond of that. The deck isn't massively Counterblast heavy, but it can go through your Counterblast quite fast. Bubble Edge Draco Kid doesn't cost Counterblast. I do quite like him, but he doesn't give you an extra attack, which Mitros does. And I mean, just being able to shove him into the soul, bring out a Thavas, and just swing for 11, that gives you your 4th battle. I will probably make a video showing some sort of basic combos that I do in the deck, but I mean, basically have that behind a double attacker like Tidal, Magnum, Adelaide, whatever, have it boost, and then have your Vanguard attack, shove this guy into soul, call out a Thavas, you've got your 4th attack and something to stack triggers on. So that's my choice for the starter. Next up, Kelpie Rider Petros, the crit. I mean, if you're running a deck that has Thavas in it, and you're running vanilla triggers, or vanilla crits specifically, just run this instead. It's just, I mean, my philosophy really is that a trigger with a skill is better than a trigger without a skill, because a trigger without a skill just can't do anything except for boost and attack. Whereas this can boost, attack, whatever, and it goes into soul, replaces itself, because if you've called it out, then you've lost the card from hand, but then it replaces itself and gives a 5k boost to your Vanguard, which is quite useful for Thavas, because obviously Wailing Thavas gains 5k for every attack. Then shove this in, it's another 5k. You can really ramp up the numbers. Just makes numbers. And even grade 3 Thavas as well, it can just, his guard restriction isn't that amazing, but being able to just push him up to like 16, 21, those sort of numbers can actually kind of make him slightly threatening. Heal trigger, Officer Cadet Ionas. I mean, really just trigger with a skill. It's a trigger with a skill. Just run triggers with skills. It's not a very good skill, but it is objectively better if you don't care about numbers, which really you don't really in this deck. The 5k really only matters if you're like boosting a Vanguard, and you never do that in this deck really. So, Supersonic Sailor, I mean, gives you a counter charge, gives you soul as well. Just really good. Again, if you're running vanilla triggers, just run triggers with skills instead. Really not much to say about this guy, he's just really good. And lastly, Battle Siren Malika. Again, trigger with a skill. Also, you can put it into soul, give +3 to Tidal Assault. He's a 12k now, he can attack a Vanguard, restand, get boosted, attack Vanguard again, both times it can hit. Saberflow Sailor turns it into an 11k, etc, etc. It just makes numbers. Really, really useful. And lastly, this is not something that I'm running, but it's something that you can run, and I have tried in the past, and he does work out quite nicely. Dolphin Soldier of Leaping Windy Seas. Basically, you attack if you have a Thavas Vanguard, first or second battle, you Soul Blast 1, he's an 11k attack, and at the end of the battle, draw a card, put him on bottom of the deck. Very solid. I quite like him. I ran him at 1, and he's pretty solid at 1, I think, because if you draw into him, that's either just a 10k shield that you can just drop, just, 10k shield, easy, or if you really need an attack, you can throw him down to the field, swing for 11. That's really, really solid. And then send him back to deck and draw a card. And then he's on the bottom of the deck, and you're never going to drive check him again, or you're never going to damage check him either. Well, unless you deck out, but I mean, you've got bigger problems there. Because the problem with this guy is that the fact that he is a stand trigger. Stand triggers do kind of mess up your combos because early game, you attack with your Vanguard first because you pass all your triggers to your rearguard, or you don't have a rearguard, in which case, obviously, you're attacking Vanguard first. So, a stand trigger there kind of hurts. Even mid-game, sometimes you'll just stride into Commander Thavas and attack with him first to stack all triggers on a rearguard that you've already buffed by 5k, etc., etc. You just don't want to be hitting stands in the deck, really. Crits kill your opponent faster, etc., etc. But on the other hand, he is a very good card. If he was a critical trigger, I would definitely be running him. Anyway, that's it for the grade 0s that you can/I do run in the deck. And on to grade 1s, I guess. So for grade 1s, starting off with Ocean Keeper Plato, Perfect Guard, right? So there's basically 2 options for a Perfect Guard. There's the Unflip Perfect Guard, and there's just a regular vanilla Perfect Guard. It's not vanilla, obviously, but So the big difference between these two, this guy can guard anything. He can guard a Vanguard or a Rearguard, and he can also guard not from hand. Whereas this guy can only guard the Vanguard and only from hand, but he gives you a counter charge if you've got another copy of him in the drop zone. A lot of players, prefer this. A lot of players prefer this. Personally, I prefer this because more counterblast equals more combos. Equals, more ways to kill your opponent, more ways to win. On the other hand, a lot of people, some people will, swing with a very big column at one of your rear guards, and you're like, well, I need to save that rear guard because, it could die. Dimension Police, they attack the rear guard a lot, so they can restamp with Laurel, etc., etc. Personally, I try to play so I've always got a backup 4th Battle Enabler in my hand, but obviously there's also Dismal now, so if you've got a heal trigger in hand, you can pitch that and just Dismal and just protect your rearguard, and it can't be hurt until end of turn. So really, it's your preference. I prefer this because it gives me counter charge, and protecting my rearguards isn't that important to me, but this guy is still a good option if you think that you can handle your resources very well. Next up, Melania. I wish I could run this card at 4, but I just don't have the room to run her at 4. Her resist is incredibly key in so many matchups. Link Joker, Kagura Narukami, just anything that has field control. Throw her down in the front row. You've got a 12k attacker that draws cards, and it can't be touched by any sort of control unless there's like a column. And then it combos really nicely with Skiros, because imagine you have this in the back row behind like Magnum Assault or something, and then Magnum's got resist and she's got resist, so they can't column lock or column retire or anything like that, which is just really useful. Again, I wish I could use her at 4 because she's just so good. She is basically the draw engine of the deck. She goes off pretty much every turn if you want her to. 12k attacker, so fantastic. However, I think the fact that she's got resist, meaning she can't be killed by a lot of stuff, means that you can afford to run her at 3. Also because, Stacia, who I shall go through now. Again, I'm running her at 3 because I just want to see her in every game because she's just so good. She makes so many plays. She's basically what makes the Lambros combo work. Where essentially, if you attack with your rearguard at their rearguard, attack with your rearguard at their rearguard, and then attack with her at whatever, If there's a rearguard still there, attack the rearguard, or just attack the Vanguard. Attack with Lambros, restand your 2 rearguards in the front row, and then you've got, 2 rearguards in the front row, buffed by 10k, ready to take triggers, and both of them can restand, presuming they are restanders. Or, could be Melania. Just, draw 2. Really solid combo. The fact that she can attack for 9 is also just so lovely. Like, just a 9k attack at a rearguard on any turn, forcing them to either burn a 5k shield or they lose their rearguard. The Thavas deck does have a lot of sort of control elements in it. You've got, obviously, your stride skill, you've got Wailing Thavas, Commander Thavas, etc., and Stacia, who can just help clear out the rearguards on the field. Just really, 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 really solid. Wish I could run her at 4 as well, but the 6k base can kind of hurt if you have to ride her. Anyway, lastly, for the grade 1s, obviously, Stride Fodders. It's a strike deck. You need this in your deck. Generally, you don't have too much trouble striding, because you can make a really good hand, but this is just way too important. Plus, being able to get Thavas into your hand if you have, say, Skiros in your hand or whatever else, just too important, way too important to pass up the chance. So, 4 copies. Maybe you could get away with 3. I was thinking about maybe removing 1 copy of Nikki to put in another grade 3, but, it's your choice. Anyway, on to grade 2. So for grade 2s, first up, obviously, Tidal Assault. I really shouldn't have to explain this card, but I will, just in case. So, this guy's not Generation Break restricted. He doesn't have like a Vanguard grade restriction, a Vanguard name restriction, or anything. He is, as soon as he is on the field, in Rearguard Circle obviously, he can restand. That is amazing. This is basically the entirety of the early game for Thavas. You hate riding this guy. You want to be calling him turn 2, attacking with your Vanguard, stacking all triggers on him, and then swinging twice. Generally, you also stick your Forerunner out to the side so that it can boost, and then he can swing for 9, restand, 9 again. Hitting a crit trigger and putting it all on him on your grade 2 turn is deadly. It can just end games. I've done it before. Just completely wiping out your opponent. And even though this guy's slightly less useful late game, because he can only swing for 9, then he loses 5k, so he's only swinging for 4. Even though that kind of sucks, it's the fact that he's free, doesn't need any sort of like Vanguard, no names, no GB1, nothing. He just restands. Like, even if this is like your only rear guard, he just sends Wailing Thavas off, 36k, retire 2 rear guards. Really strong, works super well with Lambros, swing for 9 at the rear guard, so he doesn't restand. And then, swing with your other stuff, and then restand. He's a 19k by himself, swings for 19, then swings for 14. Just so solid. Just, you need to run this guy at 4 copies in pretty much any Aquaforce deck. There's really no excuse now that he's also being reprinted, so that's really all I have to say about him. Tidal Assault, MVP of the deck. Next up, Magnum Assault. Still actually one of my favorite rearguards in Aquaforce. Really solid. He's basically Tidal Assault, but GB1. And so the good thing about the GB1 is that he actually becomes an 11k after attacking rather than becoming a 4k, which, I mean, I think that's pretty decent. I'm running him at 3 because I just sort of like the balance between him and Adelaide. I'll just, Adelaide's probably a bit nicer for sort of more burst plays. Like, you can just chuck this down, it's 11-11, whereas this has got to be boosted. So if they hit a damage trigger on this guy, then he can't hit, whereas you can attack with her for 11 and attack boosted, so that it can still hit even if they hit a damage trigger. You can run 4 of her, but if you're not on Thavas on grade 3, then you can't like Lambros with her and stuff. He needs a boost though. You know, it's just sort of your sort of preference here. You can, you know, I like running both of these guys at 3. You can put one up to 4, one down to 2, etc., etc. You can just get rid of one of them if you really want to run the other one at 4. You have more spaces. Personally, I like them both pretty equally, so I run them both at 3 copies. So, yeah, not really much else to say about that. And lastly, Saberflow Sailor running at 2. This card is just amazing. It just makes advantage really, really nice. Sort of plays a bit more of the Mirage game as well, which I didn't mention about Mitros and the Dolphin, and pretty much Petros as well. Playing the Mirage game is really nice against Control, because, you know, Link Joker, Narukami, etc., you're attacking and then you're just sending all your rearguards away, so they can't lock you down, they can't bind your stuff, they can't get any advantage from retiring your stuff, like countercharging from Nadel or Nadim or whatever the Kagero one is. And she draws 2 cards. That's really nice. I mean, you can make some serious advantage, like her and Melania, like in a column, and use like Commander Thavas on one of them. That's you draw 3 cards and, you know, retire her. That's fine. She's only an 8k. Generally, she doesn't even hit the Vanguard. Just doesn't need to. Draws cards. It's a very defensive card. I like to play Aquaforce in a more of a control, attrition, conservative kind of play style. Like, I don't like to just go all out and rush my opponent. I prefer to keep resources so that I can grind them down and then kill them with like Wailing Thavas or Lambros or something. So she draws cards, really, really useful, and, you know, doesn't really matter, she's 8k. So on to just a couple of cards that you can run instead of what I've picked. First one, High Tide Sniper. I have run this guy, he's really nice. All in all, going back to my point though, I do prefer to like make more advantage than hit really hard. I think the deck hits really hard anyway, so I prefer the advantage over this, but this is still a good card. You know, your playstyle might not be the same as mine, so this guy might be really good. He's a 19k attacker on the 3rd battle or more. Really, really solid. Soul Blast 1 for a 19k attack, really solid. Works really well with Andre, the starter, because, you know, you can put Andre's skill on to him, you know, have him swing for 19, restand, have him swing for 21. You know, on the Lambros turn, oh my goodness, this card gets insane. You know, Lambros, Andre, this guy, you know, have him swing at the rear, restanding with Lambros, he's 19 base, 29, restand 31. Imagine putting triggers on that, really, really scary. My only problem with that is that the main thing you want to be doing with this guy is restanding him with, you know, Andre, who I don't particularly like to use, Lambros, and that's just costing you soul. And if you're running Adelaide along with that, I mean, she costs soul as well. Pretty much all of my triggers go into the soul, so it's not really a problem. But, you know, this guy burns like 2 soul a turn. Just not super fond of it. And especially with G-Guards, like, this guy's offensive power is not as amazing as it once was. He's still really good, just, you know, less good. And then lastly, Kelpie Rider Nikitas. Haven't actually tested this guy yet. Could be good. I feel like next time Aquaforce gets support and we get some good wave rearguards, Nikitas will be really, really solid. So, you know, wave first, second time, 11k attacker, and then Counter Blast 1, end of battle, switch this with a wave. So, you know, can switch with himself, can switch with Melania. Oh yeah, that's it. That's my problem with this guy. I literally I run, Melania's like my only good wave unit. Like that's it. That's his only target, except for himself. And like, once we get some good wave cards, like maybe something that replaces Adelaide, Magnum, maybe even Tidal Assault, then this guy could see play. But This is also something I want to make a video about. Switches, switches as I'll call them, are just inherently worse than restanders. Because, well, I'll probably just save that for the video, but basically, stack triggers on this guy, okay, he swings once and then swaps with something else. Stick triggers on Tidal Assault, he swings twice with those triggers. This guy, you need him and something to switch with, that's 2 cards, whereas a restander only needs 1 card, unless it's Magnum, but, etc., etc. So this card could get good, so, I bought my playset, it was really cheap, could get really, really, really good, but it's not very good at the moment. Anyway, that's it for grade 2. So for grade 3, obviously 3 Skiros. Could run him at 4 if you want. I decided to put him down for more grade 2 space, and also because for some reason I always kept drawing into this guy instead of Thavas, and I don't want to be on this guy, I want to be on Thavas. It's not so bad anymore because I've got like 4 stride turns where I can stride into a Thavas, and it's generally what I do anyway, even when I'm on grade 3 Thavas, so this guy doesn't really matter that much. But if I wanted to go into Lambros, then I can't use Melania or Adelaide or anything. His on-ride skill's really damn useful, like stick it on like Tidal Assault and then just call out like a trigger or something just to get that first attack, have him attack second, all triggers on Tidal Assault. Tidal Assault swing, check top 5 for grade 3, Tidal Assault swing, check top 5 for grade 3. Can help you plus really well, helps you get your Thavas into your hand if you want to be on it. Plus, the front row resist is actually very good in certain matchups. Narukami, like the Vanquisher build, Vanquisher can only retire front row, so, being able to stop them from retiring your front row just basically kills the deck. Front row resist against Link Joker, that just gives you attacks, just so good. The thing is, his name isn't Thavas. If this had been the new form of Thavas, I'd have loved it. Like, he'd probably be, like, my main ride, to be honest. Because the retire one from Thavas' stride bonus isn't that great. But, he's Skiros, he's not Thavas. That's cool. He's still a really good card. But you just want to be on Thavas, really. Speaking of whom... Was that correct grammar? I don't know. Thavas, 4 copies of Thavas. There's no real need to explain this, to be honest. It's Thavas. It's a Thavas deck. You need 4 copies of your main grade 3. You run it for... You want to ride this guy. Stride bonus, isn't that amazing. But on the other hand, it is a free retire. You don't get to choose. But on the other hand, it is a free retire. Just helps to empty their field a little bit. Just so good. Just, really, 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 really solid. You run them at 4. Just always run them at 4. And then for a grade 3 that you could run, I'm not running him currently. Water General Wave like Spiral's Benedict is basically just grade 3 Tidal Assault. Really solid. I'm thinking of putting him in because, run him at, say, like 2. You're running 6 Tidal Assaults. That's really nice. I wish he was an 11k, but he's not. That's okay though. He's just quite solid. Nice rearguard. Because my biggest problem with Skiros, apart from the fact that he's not called Thavas, is the fact that he is a vanilla 11k on rearguard circle. This guy, he's a very, very, very good 10k on rearguard circle, and that's really it's really, really good. So, I'm going to test this guy out, maybe 1 or 2. Maybe even take out Stride Foil so I can run like 2 of him, 2 Skiros, and 4 Thavas, obviously. Okay, and now on to the G-Zone. So, starting off the G-Zone, Guard Leader of Sky and Water Floatia. She's not very good. The worst thing about Aquaforce is probably its G-Guardians. Maybe also the fact that we haven't really had a change to the main deck in about 2 years, but, probably the G-Guardians. So first or second battle gets plus 5k shield. can be nice, you know, like if they have like a big-ish column swinging first or second, boom, 20k block, easy. But the fact that, you know, third battle and onwards, she's just a vanilla 15k, just really not very good. Hence, I'm only running her at 1 because she's just kind of situational. I usually use her for a second battle because I'm running this guy. He gets plus 10k on the first or the fourth or more. So, you know, if I'm playing against like a multi-attack deck, you know, 25k shield on the fourth or more, or if it's just the first, like the swinging Vanguard first, just 10k shield, easy. Both of these guys aren't very good. They're very easily played around, hence I'm only really playing them at 1. I really wish this guy had just been like wave 3rd time or more, because then, like, I mean, these guys would actually synergize really well, but they don't, because they both want first, and then like she wants second, he wants fourth or more. So yeah, not super great. Then Dismal. No matter what I said earlier about the perfect guards, your rear guards are important. So being able to save your Tidal Assault, your Magnum Assault, whatever, from being killed is very, very useful. You know, if they're attacking your rear guard deliberately, you know, like Dimension Police or Dragonic Overlord at the end, whatever, this guy, you know, stop the attack, just kills their play. Additionally, this guy himself has resist, so if you're going up against something with some guard break, like Dimension Police, you know, that's a 15k, that's a 15k shield that can't be killed. And what you can actually do is 15k shield, give the resist to one of your rear guards, and then intercept with it. I mean, that's 20k of resist. I mean, to be honest, against Dimension Police, it's you know, they're still probably going to hit, but you can throw down like a couple more triggers, and you know, they'll have to hit 2 grade 3s to you know, to kill those. But yeah, this guy, very good at 1. Doesn't gain any shield though, which is why I'm still running the other 2. Then, like 2 copies of Ionas. I'm running 5 G-Guardians so that I can go into Ionas twice, but like either before or in between them, I can go into another G-Guardian. So that still gives me 3 G-Guards in the game, while still going through 2 of these like ones that can go up to like 40k. Ionis is actually quite good. The best G-Guardian of Aquaforce by far, obviously, because you know, the other ones are really bad. But being able to basically do a super dismal and gain shield for it, really, really good. Not wave restricted as well. Really, really nice. My main problem with Ionis is the fact that gives all your rear guards resist. Frankly, any deck that is going to be trying to kill your rear guards has already killed your rear guards by the time you're using this. Link Joker, you know, main phase locking. Kagero, main phase retiring. Clans that don't retire, this is great against, because, I mean, you get, you know, your 30, 35, 40k shield out of this if you filled up your field. Clans that retire or lock or anything, this guy's not really going to be that effective. Obviously, you know, if you've got Melania's, she's already got resist, but you can still choose her because it's only your opponent's card effects that can't choose her. So, you know, really solid. And to be honest, you only need 2 rear guards for this guy to be just as good as or better than any other G-Guard we actually have access to. So, you know, think about it like that. Really, you know, very good. My only other problem with this guy is that the way I play, I have a lot of sort of Mirage tactics, like Mitros, you know, the Thavas bounces to hand, Supersonic Sailor, Petros, etc., etc. I tend to leave my field fairly empty during the early to mid game. Like late game, I'll call out quite a bit, and I'll have a good few rear guards. But you know, your opponent will obviously know that you're running this, because if you're not running this, I don't know, like, what are you even doing? Like, and they can attack your rear guards and, you know, just force you to, you know, either drop shield from your hand so that this is better, or just make this a worse guardian. But hey ho, still a really good card. It saved me quite a few times, and Spring Circuit. So, you know, good card. Good card. And yeah, I run it at 2, so I can G-Guard with something else, and then G-Guard with him, and G-Guard with him again. Because you can only use, you know, you can't G-Guard after you've got 4 or more face-up G-Guardians. But if this is your 4th G-Guardian, then you can still flip up another G-Guardian and use the effect still, because, you know, that's just how the rules of the game work. Onto strides. For Commander Thavas, this guy's fantastic. He's your first stride pretty much all the time. And just giving a rearguard plus 5k, really solid. You know, you can give Tidal Assault plus 5k. He can attack for 14 and 14 again. Or like 19 at Van and 9 at rearguard. Usually what I prefer to do is like have like, you know, Restander, Mitros, Melania or Saberflow, and then this is empty to call out the Thavas 2 from Mitros. And you know, you can just do quite a few attacks. He makes some really nice combos. So he's your first stride. Then I tend to go into like Lambros or Wailing or whatever. But you know, then you've got another one of this guy to go into later on in the game as well, just in case you can't hit 4 battles or like just nothing's really going your way. And then his GB3 is also quite useful. You know, pairing that with the stride bonus, you basically choose 4 and they retire 2. You know, if they haven't got a very big field, you know, that's actually quite painful. You know, just a free retire 2 is nothing to scoff at. So yeah, this guy's still really good. He gives you GB2 as well instantly. Not that it really matters, because you don't really use Thavas' GB2 very often at all. But he does give you GB3 for Wailing Thavas if you, well, yeah, GB2 and then you stride into Wailing Thavas, that gives you GB3. So yeah, really good first stride. And he doesn't cost any resources or counterblast, which is, you know, something that a lot of the strides do very, very nicely. Then obviously for Lambros, he was so amazing. He's sort of not as great as he once was. I'm going to be honest. I'm not saying he's a bad card, because there is going to have to be some serious power creep before this guy is a bad card. And obviously we're still running him at 4 copies. He's really, really, really good. The problem with this guy is G-Guardians have severely, you know, limited how offensive he can be. Because, you know, oh, you buff your Magnum Assault. Now he's, you know, he's swinging for 26 and 21. Well, you know, 26, that's just 1 G-Guard. That's just 1 card from hand. You know, like, just not as strong of like a finisher, but you know what this guy is really good at? I use him as like a mid-game stride to push the damage up, you know, push them closer and closer to 5 so Wailing Thavas can kill them. And also I combo it with like Melania. You know, Melania, you know, have, say, you know, Adelaide or something, swing twice, Melania, draw a card, Lambros, restand Melania and Adelaide. Adelaide can swing for 21. Melania can swing for 22 and draw another. You know, just makes some, you know, pushes the damage up, can sort of get you a bit more advantage with Melania, etc., etc. And, you know, you can still do, you know, the Lambros shenanigans and get like 8 attacks in a turn, and it's really, really scary, and it can still end games. I'm not saying this guy can't end games, I'm just saying it's harder for him to end games. He's still a good card, not really the finisher of the deck anymore, but he's still a good card. Very good. Wailing Thavas, running him at 2. I was thinking about running him at 3, but nah. I don't really have the space to run him at 3. I'd have to cut down one of my G-Guardians. This guy's just so good. I mean, very versatile card. He's a really good finisher. He's really good at just like burning all of your opponent's G-Guardians and triggers in hand so that, then you can go into Lambros and like mess them up. Nuking their field, oh my god, it's so lovely. So many decks, like, I know a lot of decks can fill up a field very easily, but conversely, a lot of decks can't fill up their field very easily. Just swinging with this guy, like 5th battle, and just retiring their whole field, it just kills so many decks. And just this guy, he's just so amazing. He's probably my favorite G unit. I'm starting to just gush about how amazing he is, but frankly, Wailing Thavas, he just wins games. You can have him swinging for like 56, and he just wins. He just wins games. Really, really, really nice. Yeah. Running him at 2. So that was the G zone. Some cards that you could run. Tidal Ball Dragon, quite nice. Just a free, like, on-hit skill, a little bit of pressure. The on-hit skill very rarely goes off, but if it does, I mean, it's just draw 1, and then you can call up to 1 to field, but generally I don't really do that unless I need the 4th battle. So you can run this guy. You know, fairly solid card. I used to use him as my first stride quite a lot, actually. Just, you know, have him attack 3rd, which is when I usually have my Vanguard attack on my first stride anyway. Yeah, solid card. I just don't have the space for him. Another card that I was running up until recently, Aristotle. Again, wave 3rd time or more. Counterblast 1, kill one of your opponent's rearguards when it attacks. I mean, this guy, he sort of takes the retiring game to the next level. Well, no, actually no. This guy took the retiring game to the next level. But this guy gives you a guaranteed, I am retiring what I want. You know, if they've got a big field and there's like one card that you specifically want gone, this guy's your man to go into. You know, if they've got like just 2 rear guards, you first stride this guy, you know. Thavas' stride skill kills 1, this guy's skill kills the other. Just a really solid card, really. And I would run him if I had the space, but I mean, I don't, so I don't run him. And then, lastly, a card that I'm sure everyone wants to... I'm sorry, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that seriously. The GBA card from Fighters Collection 2017. Oh my god, this guy is so bad. Oh my goodness. The fact is, like, okay, he's okay. Like, if he wasn't GBA, if he was just, like, maybe GB2, and, like, he wasn't being contrasted to all the actual really good GBA, like the Dimension Police and the Grand Blue, and I guess even the Gear Chronicle, etc., like, maybe he could have been decent. But, I mean, no. The fact that he's GBA, he cost Counterblast 1. Oh my goodness, no. I mean, like, so many of the GBAs gave like 10k to a rearguard, just easy, just 10k, you know, sometimes even more. This guy just gives like 5k when it attacks, and then forces you to kill it by superior calling from something from the top 4. I really don't like this guy. You know, for some reason he's restricted to rearguards that have the wave ability to actually gain more power. I mean, like, there's basically no other GBA that requires you to have keywords. I mean, the Narukami one binds their entire drop zone, but that doesn't require you to have Thunderstrike. It just enables Thunderstrike and just makes, you know, just makes the game go so nicely for you. This guy, just really not good at all. You could run him if you really wanted, if you didn't have space, but frankly, I do not like this card. I do not like it. I suppose I'll have to test it at some point, but I just don't really see how this guy can be very good. He like what? I mean, plus he gains power when you call a wave unit, so like you're supposed to be attacking with this guy on like the 6th battle or something, the 5th battle, 6th battle. Why? What? Like, clearly, why? This thing goes 2nd to 4th. That's leaving you a space for him to attack first. Are they just saying, oh yeah, you can attack first or you can attack 6th? This guy's not very good. He doesn't, like, gain crits or anything. Like, frankly, I would have been just very happy if this guy had just given, like, just, you know, wave 2nd time or more when your unit attacks a Vanguard, your front row gets plus 5k in a crit. That would have been disgusting. That would have been absolutely disgusting. And I would have run it so hard. But this guy? Nah, he's just bad. Really, really nice art though. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's why I run all the cards that I run. Obviously, I'll try and make those videos that I mentioned about like why restanders are, you know, objectively better, etc., etc. Coming out soon should be the Luard deck profile for the deck that my brother played. A Narukami deck profile, and then maybe some fight videos if anyone's interested. Again, let me know. That's pretty much it for the video. Hope to see you again in the next one. Thank you for watching.